make sure that our participated and then also learn from them.
My name is Rita Onyema and I'm from University of Abuja. I'm a veterinary medical student. I'm currently doing my internship. It's been fun, it's been very interesting. Um, it has helped me a lot to learn and to grow and just applying my knowledge from school.
Hello, my name is Abba Mohammed and I am an intern and I am a student of Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. And I would like to appreciate the fact that I am being able to put hands in the practical aspect of veterinary medicine. And I personally, I love practicing what I do.
Talk, as already been said, is a program that is being done to bridge the gap that has been identified between best practices in service delivery, veterinary service delivery, and what is obtainable now. And one of the areas that COTOG is concentrating in terms of skills and knowledge for the younger interns and veterinarians is record keeping. Record keeping to the extent that whatever is done, the record is kept, properly kept for future references.
COTOG, therefore, is here to build clinical competencies of our young professionals, colleagues, and it is a way of providing them with those skills that the market will need in terms of animal health care delivery. We have thousands of tutored colleagues, but the missing thing there is that they are not grounded when it comes to skills and practice, and that is what the industry will actually require going forward. So COTOG will be a platform where every career, every young veterinarian can apply and then get the needed skills in terms of field practice, in terms of clinical practice, in terms of food safety and public health practices, in terms of research, in terms of business plan writing, but also, making sure that whatever you go out to do is one that you are proud of the bottom line figures at the end of the day, at the end of the month, and then at the end of the year.
As a veterinarian, what is expected of me under the program of COTOG is to make sure that we give best practices and we try to make sure that interns enjoy what they are doing compared to what is read in the classes. And when you look at how horses are, they are big animals, very huge, and you need that experience and technicality to come and make sure you restrain them properly, collect blood sample or other samples, and make sure you send them to the lab. These are the aspects that we try to make sure that our interns participated and then also learn from them.
My name is Rita Onyema, and I'm from University of Abuja. I'm a veterinary medical student. I'm currently doing my internship. It's been fun. It's been very interesting. It has helped me a lot to learn and to grow, and just applying my knowledge from school.
Hello, my name is Abba Mohammed, and I am an intern, and I am a student of Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. And I would like to appreciate the fact that I am being able to put hands in the practical aspect of veterinary medicine. And I personally, I love practicing what I do.
Talk, as already been said, is a program that is being done to bridge the gap that has been identified between best practices in service delivery, veterinary service delivery, and what is obtainable now. And one of the areas that COTOG is concentrating in terms of skills and knowledge for the younger interns and veterinarians is record keeping. Record keeping to the extent that whatever is done, the record is kept, properly kept for future references.
COTOG, therefore, is here to build clinical competencies of our young professionals, colleagues, and it is a way of providing them with those skills that the market will need in terms of animal health care delivery. We have thousands of well-tutored colleagues, but the missing thing there is that they are not grounded when it comes to skills and practice, and that is what the industry will actually require going forward. So COTOG will be a platform where every career, every young veterinarian can apply and then get the needed skills in terms of field practice, in terms of clinical practice, in terms of food safety and public health practices, in terms of research, in terms of business plan writing, but also
Good morning, good afternoon. Can everyone confirm that they are hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you, please.
Okay, thank you so much for joining. I am Dr. Akombi Akimha-Bolanle. I am the coordinator for the program, the COTOG lecture series, and you are very welcome to today's episode. And how is the celebration going? Thank you so much for joining, despite the fact that we are in the celebration mood. We're not going to bore you today. We're going to let you know, learn something new, and also remind you of something you already know. And please kindly introduce yourself in the chat box so that We can get to know each other where we're chatting from. Me, I'm here in Abuja, Nigeria. If you're from any other part of the world, any part of Nigeria or outside Nigeria, please kindly introduce yourself, your name, what you're doing. So I'm going to go into what we have today, the agenda. Today, we're going to be having the honor to have, yes, we're going to have Dr. Emmanuel. I don't know if you can see my screen. If you can see my screen, you can give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Dr. Emmanuel is going to be talking to us about One Health, One Future, the real opportunity, tackling antibiotic resistance through collaborative action. Once Dr. Emmanuel is done giving us something new or educating us about the opportunities of tackling antibiotic resistance through collaborative action, Dr. Ezenwa Konobi is going to come and ginger us here with the participatory discussion of the question and answer. And we're going to wrap it up with Dr. Bala Mohammed giving us announcements and every other thing we need to know. So thank you so much for joining, and stay tuned to what we have for you today. Thank you. So without wasting too much of our time, I'm going to check if the guest speaker is here. If he's here, sir, kindly let me see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're welcome, Dr. Emmanuel.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. You're welcome. So you're welcome to today's session. So I would like to just give a brief about Dr. Emmanuel. I'll let you know what he does and just something new about him that maybe if you're following maybe on WhatsApp, LinkedIn, or anything that you don't know already, I'm going to briefly tell you. So who is Dr. Emmanuel? Dr. Emmanuel is a Nigerian epidemiologist with a profound expertise in information in technology and data science. He currently serves as a 2024 Global Outreach Fellow at the Planetary Health Alliance. In this role, it supports the coordination and expansion of planetary health community globally, and collaborates with the planetary health team, alliance members, and other regional hubs to strategically develop and strengthen partnerships across geographical zones. Aside that, is a doctor of public health candidate and teaching assistant at the Interfaculty Initiative for Planetary Health, Nagasaki University, Japan. And in his previous roles, he has served as project assistant for the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. In this capacity, he was involved in training more than 3,000 frontline responders. He also, during this time, he was able to work with the incident management team for the global pandemic influenza simulation exercise, where he led as the planned section team chief for the national COVID-19. Other than that, Dr. Emmanuel is also a consultant for the International Society for Infectious Disease Program for monitoring emerging diseases, and he engages with mentors and mentees in Africa because his ultimate aim is to increase engagement of lower and middle income countries to foster inclusivity and diversity within the larger planetary health community. I must also include this because he has been opportune to win the Fleming Fund Antimicrobial Resistance Fund, and he holds an MSc from University of Lagos, where he studied public health and also infrastructural management for his BSc at University of Benin, where he studied biochemistry. So you're welcome, Dr. Emmanuel. We are glad to have you here, and we are we're happy that you are going to share to us what we need to know about antibiotic resistance. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hope you can hear me very clearly.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll go ahead to share my slide. Thanks for the introduction, Dr. Bolanle. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you're able to.
Just a moment. Okay, good morning, everyone, once again, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to share with you some thoughts that and conversations that we've been having for a while now with regards to antimicrobial resistance. I must thank the Life Care Management Team, LMS, and the COTOG series for the opportunity to share. Harvard, I know antimicrobial resistance and One Health is not new to us. So I tried as much as possible not to bring up those already known things, more just to spur the thinking around One Health and One Future, the collaborative AMR action that is required. Okay. Sorry. What's this? Okay. I'll just go ahead. Just what I want to take out from this slide is that my thinking is more problem solving and systems thinking. And I'm very happy to work in the space of risks and uncertainties. So thank you. And this is going to be our outline, and I'll just jump into it. So it wouldn't be possible to go through this conversation without defining antimicrobial resistance. But what I want us, what I'm hoping that we can start to think about antimicrobial resistance, especially because we are thinking of One Health and One Future. And I'm hopeful that by the end of this presentation or this discussion, that we would be able to begin to reconsider how we see diseases that affect either the human or animal or in the environment. I'm hoping that at the end of this session, we will be able to see that we have just one problem. We all have one problem. That's what I'm hoping I'm able to achieve. So at the end of the sessions, I'll ask if I was able to convince you otherwise. So antimicrobial resistance, we already know what it is, but what I wanted us to take away from here is that it is first a natural process. And if we remember our basic biology, living things have several characteristics, and they include adaptation. So this is microorganisms that are trying to adapt. Everyone is trying to survive. Survival of the fittest, like Darwin or Darwin's theory would explain. So the idea, we should first always remember that antimicrobial resistance is a natural process. It's just that we're on the receiving end, but it seems like microorganisms were on their own and we got into their space, and now we are trying to, bully everyone. So these are the microorganisms. So I'm playing the devil's advocate for the microorganisms. They are only trying to survive. And you would see as we progress that it is indeed a David fighting a Goliath kind of scenario. So this other picture just goes to explain the different facets of the cell and how we have tried to address or modify the different pharmaceuticals to address different complexes for each of these microbes. So yes, the point here is that it is a natural process, yes, and the microorganisms are indeed trying to survive. So we understand every other bit about how the drugs that we intended to treat or prevent the infections are now being resisted by these microorganisms that have kind of figured out somehow a way to bypass or absorb the effects that we have initially planned for them. Now, these slide, I'm hoping that we could see. So this is the biomass of the world. So this is the global biomass. I hope you can see my cursor. That's my arrow. This is the globe, right? And this is the globe in an attempt by Hannah to measure in carbon. You'd agree with me that the life cycle of every, let me use the word, every object or everything, whether living or not living, has at some point we can equate or return back to carbon. This is how we would measure. This is how we would say, oh, we want to check what happened in before times or pre time. We would always measure in terms of carbon, right? And that's why when things disintegrate or they don't disintegrate, it becomes a problem to the environment. So in an attempt to measure by carbon, you'd see here that of the 456 billion ton of carbon globally, 82% of that total biomass is for its plants. And I tried not to delve into planetary health and to show how there has been a steady decline. We lost 46% of our wild animal to biodiversity loss. So there's a steady decline because these very, I call them, I'm calling humans in this presentation David. This David is 0.01% in the global biomass. Humans are 0.01%. Yes, we are celebrating that we have hit 8 billion people on Earth, but by biodiversity, we're just 0.01%. And somewhere as we go down the slide, you'll find out that these very minority, I call humans minority, are responsible currently in the Anthropocene epoch. We would say that humans are the ones who are responsible for the impact that we are seeing from nature's change. You would see climate change there. You would see pollution. You would see invasive species and the likes, and land use and sea change. So the microorganisms we're talking about here are about 18% of this biomass. So we must really be very ingenious on how we were able to get past getting into their barriers and still being able to continue to fight for our own survival too. So I'm hoping that with this background, we're able to understand what we are playing against. Remember, I said that antimicrobial resistance is a natural process. So the more we get, the more we start to see this from this perspective and how economic activities, for we have a set. Sorry. Did someone try to say something?
No.
All right. Okay. So this is at the crux of the concept of what we are discussing today. That in this mind of man versus the planet, or species fighting for survival, one is superior, but well, I'm sure if you follow the science conversations, there are always conversations asking, is there something superior than the Homo sapien? So let's just proceed. So I thought to bring up this. So I'm going to ask, I always like to have interactive sessions. Does anyone know what this picture, who these men in this picture are? Please put it in the chat. Who are these men in the picture? I'm not seeing the chat. Okay. Let's type in. You can respond, I don't know. The clue is the picture, the Stop Syphilis picture. The clue is in the Stop Syphilis picture. And for everyone on this call who has gone through either the ethical review examinations, you must have gone through one of the yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that cracked me up. Yes, this moment is very good for us to also relax, and sometimes we get too serious around some of these sessions, and we lose the essence. So if you have gone through the let me I recently wrote one of the exams. Say old school, man. Nice. So maybe if you can also guess where they are from, whether in Africa or outside of Africa, which country, get continents. We can also guess that. So if you've done any of these courses on bioethics, and where you do justice, beneficence, and the one that has to do with no harm, you would have come across this. It was a very sensitive study on syphilis in USA. So I've said in USA. I need someone to put in the answer. It was an institute where men who were exposed to syphilis, or people who were exposed to syphilis for some reason, some were kept as control, and then the others were exposed to the treatment, because by that time we had SARS varan, and penicillin had become a thing that was making around. So this is the Tuskegee men, and I'm sure by now I reminded you. So this is the Tuskegee men in US, and I thought to bring this up because this is part of the concept that we often come to antimicrobial resistance as though it is only a medical or medical, whether for human or for animals, as though it's only a medical problem. But we know that, and if you look at the transition of most of the outbreaks, the largest outbreaks that we could have had in past times, most of these outbreaks were spread through war or by travel, or by what's this word? By circumnavigation or by exploration. This is how most of the biggest pandemics that we've had in time past were distributed across the globe. So I just thought to use this example to buttress the points with regards to there would always be some sort of contention for survival amongst organisms. And you find out that the smallest or unseen organisms can cause very large harms, just like how humans who are very small with regards to biodiversity mass are directing the affairs of a full planet. And yes, so this case is with regards to the Tuskegee Institute and syphilis study, and how it's introduced, and it was one of the main points for having no harm when we are doing our experiments or when we are carrying out studies, because part of this whole collaboration conversation, part of the one future that we're talking about, is that people are disciplined enough to understand the boundaries between having a successful trial and getting the drugs out, and also having some sort of bringing humanity to the study. Okay, so now I'm sure this is the One Health schema that we're very familiar with, and this is I think one of the first places that One Health came up from, where you have the human health, animal health, and the environmental health, and where we say that there is that intersection of humans getting into territories, trying to either explore land use, or as our population is growing, we require to feed more people, and then we need to shelter more people, and then you see that we're getting into spaces that we originally would not have been in. And our methods of doing some of these things were not thought through, and which is we'll see how that comes to light. And then the environment is, we think, yes, we're making progress with development, but at some point, because we are taking from the Earth's natural resources. So before now, we always used to think that the resources of the Earth was infinite. I'm in Japan, and the coal mine here in Japan was closed over about 100 years ago. The coal mine, it's on an island, Gunkanjima Island. It was closed about 100 years ago. They closed the coal mine. And it gets me to think that a couple of things that we have within us, we have traditions that used to, in global north, they would call them indigenous people. But in our climate, it would seem more like our grandparents, or our when we retire and go back to maybe the village, or our places of origin, more like if they have not already been urbanized. And those places, you find out that the air there is different compared to city life. But for some reason, we always make those places look like the city is better than those places. And then you find out that that is what's causing rapid urbanization. So, but the concept is that One Health is trying to integrate or unify. And this definition actually has changed, because this was not what it used originally be. But now you see that they're introducing sustainable. Anytime you see the word sustainable, just remember that what they want to do is they are saying. And anytime you also use the word sustainable, be sure that this is what it means. That sustainable is that, oh, we have a liter or we have a pool of water, but we're going to use this water, we're going to take from this water in such a way that the water never runs dry. So it's either we reduce the pace at which we take from it, and then allowing it. That's the assumption that it's recycled, or there is a flow that is filled back. And then for the earth, we know that rain falls, and there's the cycle of evaporation and then condensation, and then that cycle continues. So anytime you see and sustainability is being introduced to almost everything. In fact, the health definition has also been modified to now start to include planetary health. And I think this is in one of the most recent WHO's publications. So sustainable balance and optimize the health of people, animals. So you can see another introduction of ecosystems. And ecosystem is we'll get into that too. How we are migrating how we've always focused on climate and how the shift is now going to nature. But we'll look into that. And now this last bit is now showing how we are now trying to so initially we used to have three big balls: One Health, animal, environment, and human. But now we see that there is One Health, but that original concept we used to call One Health is now here. So it's quite interesting. Huh? And then we're saying that One Health is now being redefined as the health ecosystems, healthy ecosystem, healthy animals, healthy humans. And remember that I told you ecosystem it's a word that we need to define, but for the scope of this session, I tried to limit it so that I could. Dr. Bolanle, let me know how I'm doing with time.
You have 15 minutes left.
All right, thank you. So this schema is now showing us that you see how collaboration and coordination is being introduced into the concept or the conversations. So yes, we have sectors and disciplines which were originally One Health. So before, when you say One Health, you find Ministry of Environment come up, Ministry of Health come up, and then Ministry of the Agric and Rural Development come up and say, oh yes, we are the champions of One Health. But over time, we saw that One Health went into humans, the security agenda, went into even trade. WTO is currently, in that mix. And then you see that there's the processes or the models or the concepts that come around this whole thing, and then there's the society. I can tell you that there's another schema in Planetary Health that shows how nature connects all of this together. But I thought to just keep it simple with the ones that we're already familiar with. My assumption is that most of us here are either vets or medics or environmental specialists, or please correct me if I'm wrong, but that was my assumption. And maybe if there's anyone outside of this mix, it might be pharmacists. But please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. So this is USCDC. So what I showed you before was WHO, and now this is USCDC. But you see that the conversation is just beaming collaboration, communicating, and coordination. All right. And so another pause here. What do you see in this picture? Unfortunately, when I share this slide, I might not be able to add this picture because this picture has has copyright restrictions. So I thought this was a good breaker in between the conversation. So please, what do you see in this picture? Yeah, please send your chats. Let's see it again. What do you see in this picture? And what do you think of this today? So in the picture, you see it's like a horse race, and there's some sort of a bid for the horses, and they're saying tuberculosis is 150,000, let's say naira or pounds or dollars, and then syphilis is $240,000, and then cancer is 40,000. Okay, yeah, yeah, I see that. One Health, so it says skeleton, horseman, and a woman watching. Okay, yes, One Health diseases cost more, and that's more than other diseases. Okay, thank you, sir, for this model for the redefined. Okay, horse. So I'm thinking that this would have been before now. If you use the rate of what it takes to treat or take care of cancer, you will see that the cancer horse will be way ahead. In fact, the tuberculosis and syphilis will go behind, and then the cancer will be ahead. And then the prices will also switch. This is what I saw when I looked at this. I'm not exactly sure what the painter had in mind, but perhaps the race. Another way to look at this could be the race for the cure for tuberculosis and syphilis. That the race to cure tuberculosis and syphilis, you have them ahead, and tuberculosis is ahead of syphilis. And I think this was how they were able to get some of the treatments they had, but cancer is still behind. And if this second scenario is the case, then this picture will still hold sway, right? But the conversations will be that the same targets conversation that I have. I don't know if there are any pharmacists in the house or people who are in the pharmaceuticals, because they play a very big role here too with regards to drug development and how it is available or accessible and all of that bit. So, but yes, so thank you. And so now we're beginning to get into the call, but I will just rush through this. Now, we've always thought about public health as I'll start from the sanitary environment, sanitary environmental, and this is the environment is a threat to health. Originally, this is how we define health, that the environment is a threat to health. And for biomedical, we would say that the health improvement requires understanding of biological cause, right? And then you see how we moved from the health and environment, and they were now looking at biological causation. And then for social behavioral, we're now saying, oh, health is a function of knowledge and behavior patterns, right? And then afterwards, we're looking at, oh, techno-economic, and we're saying, oh, economic and knowledge growth is prime elevator of health. And you will see that more recently. And then, but Raina G is saying that perhaps there is an ecological perspective to this, and this is where I also am sitting. Initially, I was around the techno-economic. In fact, the last few months, I was very strong on the techno-economic, but I began to see that I think ecological addresses every bit, and it says that health depends on successful coexistence, right, of the natural world and social relationships. And you see that the One Health, One Future conversations that we have talked about, resonate around beginning to see health from an ecological perspective. And currently, the whole concept of planetary health is resonating on ecological perspective, where we're beginning to match nature and coexistence or interdependence on nature and social relations. And so it's when I share the slide, there will be the link to the the literature to, you know, expand on this, but I thought that this was very important with regards to key methods or criticisms, or it's going to lead us to where we're going to. So I'll just rush in and highlight planetary health. So planetary health is solutions oriented. It's transdisciplinary. And yes, I know you would say, oh, One Health. Yes, we said One Health was multi-stakeholder, you know, that's how we defined it initially. Yes, but the concept around planetary health, and this is some sort of the crux of our conversation, where now we need to. I'm hoping that we can see that the health of the planet seems like, if everyone had the health of the planet as or being nature's stewards as one problem that we all have in common, then it's easier as a veterinarian to say, oh, if I don't take care of these animals properly, they would affect the environment, or they will affect the planet, or they would either die off, or they are going to infect the other part. So in my space of influence, I know that whatever it is I'm doing has a recoil effect on the nature and systems in nature. So the social movement is focused on analyzing and addressing the impacts of human disruptions to Earth's natural system. So if we leave the dolphins, if we leave the cows, if we leave the non-human or non-Homo sapiens, if we leave every other thing outside of the Homo sapiens, I think to a large extent they're able to balance themselves. But for some reason, because of our ingenuity, we seem to have, in our bid to try to get a couple of things out of the way, we have, usurped the balance of nature. And this is evidence in what we see now. And you would see in the same slide where we have the ecological drivers as a second bit to the health effects. I would rush through this, and a question here, A or B, which or what is climate change? Is it A or B? Let me see your chat. Quickly, please. Maybe fastest fingers. A or B? Maybe the first person who sends the chat, I'll take that. No one. All right, B. So yes, B is climate change, and it's a mathematical construct, and I'm sure you'd have seen it. I just thought to use this as a case, how different anthropogenic activities over 100 years has been able to shift our temperature from to at least 1 point. Currently is about 1.3, and this would result in our day. I'm sure you already know the weather in wherever you are in Lagos today or in Abuja. You would hear people say, oh, there was delayed rain, or funny enough, in Japan here, the cherry blossom delayed, like maybe with 1 week. And people who had planned travels to come came earlier than the cherry blossom, something like that. So anyone who is saying climate change they don't understand it. So I try as much as possible not to speak the statistics or maths about it. I just say, look at the environment in the last 3 years, in the last 4 years. Is this still the same, right? And this can go all the way up. Now, where I'm going to with this conversation is here. So there is this model that has been shown on how climate change hazard can lead to even HIV, and be a driver for HIV. I used HIV as an example because it's a virus, right? And we know, yeah, I know viruses are not very much in the resistance space, but we have viruses that are resistant nonetheless. But yes, I just thought to use this. So drought and natural cover change has been shown to have effect on direct body fluids, to affect the transmission for direct body fluids, and that would result in driving HIV. pathogen. So I'm just trying to connect, the unseen everyday activity to how this happens. And the idea is that we humans are in this, so this is the Anthropocene epoch. This is how it's been currently. So before now, we had the Holocene, and that was not influenced by humans, but this current, maybe in the last 500 or maybe last millennia, we have influenced the outcome of things. So why should we bother? This is not the crux, but I thought that this would be a place where, because the conversations will be, oh, what about collaboration? What do we do with collaboration? Where, how do we collaborate? Where and how do we collaborate? And so, I told you that before now, I had been very much into the techno-economic. And part of my thesis currently is on nature-related dependencies, impact, risks and opportunities. So every one of us on this, most of us on this call are originally or primarily in the health sector, whether it is in the human, animal or environmental, but somehow we're in the health sector, true or false? If I could get thumbs up or no. Is there anyone amongst us here that is from maybe finance? Anyone? Or investments? Anyone? Anyone? Maybe in the chat. Anyone? No. So okay, partially. So the idea here is from the conversations that we have been having, and when you look at the sustainable development goals, there's some sort of a pyramid that we draw, and you'll find out that the difference in the sustainable development goals is that there is an introduction of economics, and then there's an introduction of socials or the society. So economics is something that we need to start understanding, and the new conversation here is on how to be able to measure I know there's economic impact assessments. Yes, that's that. But we need to start measuring or accounting for nature as a capital. Now, this helps us to know that if as a vet or veterinarian, that I have I have a head of animals that are under my care or custody. I know that the conversations as to whether they are put together in a place or they are allowed to graze openly, those conversations, we need to start thinking about them more than the cost of managing those types of farms to what is costing the environment. So that way, and I'm sure that there are conversations, and maybe during the question times, there are currently financing for, they call them impact finance or eco finance or green finance, that are now investors are now beginning to say, you know what, if this business is not looking at something that is sustainable, I told you the word sustainable, then maybe, and you find that most studies are now, I had one study I wanted to show, the global sewage, sewage. It's a genome study that tried to map how we had antimicrobial resistance from sewage samples. Such kind of study designs are very interesting because it's like taking a pulse of almost every environment that they are able to collect samples from. Compare that to the challenges that we've had with antimicrobial resistance surveillance, which is trying to check, is it possible to diagnose everyone to know what's their status of, what's the surveillance of antimicrobial resistance? I've done antimicrobial surveillance data collection for a while, and it's been one of the most difficult data surveillance, because unlike Lassa fever or unlike dengue or chikungunya, it's easy to the infectious diseases are easy to test. Someone is sick, they go and they get tested. But someone is sick, for example, COVID-19, they go and they get tested, but they are not checked for antimicrobial resistance. And you remember that one of the line treatments for during COVID-19 was the anti-parasitic, which was who knows the name of the drug that we used for it's the one we used for river blindness. What's that drug? Yeah, I remember. Thank you very much. So, has anyone tried to go back to see perhaps what could have been the impact of because there would have been abuse and misuse out of fear, out of an anti-parasitic that had been kept and had been doing its work, and then suddenly became these changes that happen. And you know that most viral infections that we have often people. So I didn't want to get into all of that misuse or abuse, but just to get our minds to open up a little. Just take your head off your bench, your laboratory bench, or the diagnosing table, to just look a little, step back, and see that there are a couple of collaborations that are very open, and not just within the health sector. That's what I'm getting at with this conversation. The collaboration is not just within the health sector, but there's need to start opening up to the business community, the finance, because these people are the ones who have been tracking carbon and emissions. They are the ones who are coming to they are the ones who are tracking carbon, because when there is climate change, it affects business. We are the ones doing catch up with climate change, because they are the ones who have been tracking it and trying to maximize profits and all of that. So, but the conversation here is we need to start owning this thing. So, for example, your facility, what's the impact of your business on nature from your facility? How much energy do you consume? Your business process, what are the carbon footprints that it has, And I think on this note, I'm able to stop. And I think these are just takeaway points for me, that we need to understand that there is no silver bullet for antimicrobial resistance. You see, antimicrobial resistance, these pandemics, they are wicked problems. They don't have one cap fits all or one size fits all. And then secondly is that there is the need for us to be agile. In project management, we use agile or Scrum, where it's like my former DG will say, we are building a ship while we are sailing kind of approach. So we can't just come out today and solve our AMR. But the truth is, as we are working on Lassa fever, we are working on AMR. As we are working on cholera, we are working on AMR. As we are working on whatever disease that is antimicrobial, we should be working on AMR. We cannot just have AMR and then have this other disease. These things need to start looking at each other. They need to start looking at each other. And the truth is, if sorry, I'm rounding up. If the humans are not interoperable, our systems cannot be interoperable. If I cannot sit down in a meeting with a vet, then there's no how our systems will be interoperable. And we need to start looking beyond ourselves and having one problem. We all have one problem now. So even if I'm in the health sector and I have funding for a health sector study, I should be able to extend and bring in my animal health colleague into that study, or my environmental health colleague into that study. If the animal health expert finds funding, he should be able to bring in the human health and the environment, or the finance guys, into these things. And until we start to think like this, these microorganisms that are thinking we are super or more powerful than they may just they may just, because we can see from what I showed you that their biomass is mobile. Let me be optimistic that okay, we would defeat, and then so some scholars says when we say the war against you can't fight a war if you are not coordinated. You can't fight a war against the microorganisms that seem like they know what they are doing if we are not collaborating or coordinating ourselves. So thank you. Sorry, I think I overshot the time with a few minutes, but thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Ezema Konobi is going to be coming to handle the participatory section for the question and answers.
All right. So I think I stopped sharing.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. So it's so nice being here, and I want to upfront appreciate everybody for giving us their time. I know that the CEO of LMS is going to do that more officially. Dr. Ben, we have never met, but you have really enriched my knowledge on the subject matter. You have brought it to fore again, reminding us that of the importance of this issue in the delivery of wellness for both animals, humans, and the environment. So, well, thank you so much for what you have done for us. And for me, there are a lot of take-home for me, and I want to just share the few of them. Why I expect people to get ready with whatever concern they want to share with us. But whatever concern, let it be brief and to the point. If someone had already expressed what is your concern, just tell us that it has been done so that we don't waste much time. You know, the issue of that humans are the major culprits of the problem that we're having now. It sounds as if it is new. It is really very worrisome that we are the cause of our problem. And if we are the cause of the problem, then we should also know how to resolve it. So there is no way about it. If somebody is a nuisance in a community and he's intent on stopping that problem, it should start with him. So this issue of managing or preventing antimicrobial resistance should start with us, all of us being committed to so doing it. There is one thing that you said, Dr. Emmanuel, you know, that is perhaps new, not strange, but new to a lot of us. Before now, most of us, all we say is One Health is about human health, animal health, and the environment, those three sectors. But you have brought something that is very, very important, because some of us have been thinking in that line, but you never really expressed it, but you have now expressed it on our behalf. Namely, that it is not just about those three sectors if we want to succeed. Sectors like finance, sectors like business, sectors like even our traditional setting. That is to say, everybody is involved. It is not just participants and agents of animal health, human health, and environment. Everybody is involved, because if animal health, human health, and environmental health practitioners do their bit, and other aspects, other sectors don't do their bit, it might not solve the problem. I leave it at that, and already we have 3 hands up. Maybe 2 and 3, because it's like one person, Victor, is raising his hands in 2 places. So I have Victor Ugerumba and Omotayo and Yaboso. So I think we can start with that. Meanwhile, we can also do well by dropping. Some of us are shy like me. We don't want to speak, but just drop whatever concern you have, contribution you have in the chat box. We'll pick them up and share with our presenter. So, Dr. Victor, can we have you unmute yourself and express your concern? Dr. Emmanuel is ready to address your concerns. Dr. Victor? Dr. Victor, are you there? Omotayo, are you ready?
Yes,
Dr.
hello. Good
Yeah.
afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear
Yes,
you
please.
loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful presentation. And it's a reminder to us again. But what I would like to say is that when it comes to One Health, when we're being, when the lectures come up, the vets are involved, and we are all told how we are supposed to be, participatory in the One Health thingy. However, when it comes to enforcement and when issues come up, let's say there's an outbreak of, say, tuberculosis, which we know has its roots in has an animal origin. We find out that the vets are almost excluded. Almost of the time in Nigeria here, this is what I'm talking about. We are excluded from the whole show. When monies are doled out, that is when politics comes in, and the very important part of this One Health stuff is completely cut off from it. When you look at most of these things, in fact, it still boils down to animals. Most of these diseases that have to do with livestock and companion animals and this antimicrobial we're talking about still has to eventually come down to what we're eating or who we are having close contact with. And then at the end of the day, you see that when enforcement comes, we don't get involved. So it's very frustrating that as a vet, you know the importance of this. You are being lectured and advised and told what to do. However, when the push comes to the shove, we are not there. We are completely removed. Look at what happened recently. All the parastatals that are being financed by the government. The VCN is removed, that we have to do self-financing. How do you want that kind of organization to work if it's not being financed by the government? I love the lecture, but I look at it also as a kind of, what are we saying? When we talk, we need to do the action as well. So it's frustrating that you as a vet, you're there, you know what to do, all the knowledge and everything are at your fingertips. However, when it comes to the action, you are not involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Omotayo. So, Dr. Emmanuel, can you?
Yes. So, Dr. Omotayo, I have experienced what you said because I told you I worked with the last 4 years I spent in the Emergency Operations Center at NCDC, and we went around the country setting up the emergency operations centers, and unfortunately, so you see this, and it's another conversation. Tuberculosis is like malaria, and like you have HIV. So in the sphere of our control for what we worked on, and these are the kind of conversations that will still trickle up. We use the incident management system where, for example, if there's a rabies outbreak, rabies falls under our purview, right? When there's a rabies outbreak, the EOC would call And often I have found that the vet or the state epidemiologist for the FMAD or SM, the State Ministry for Agri, would often head that thing, often. So what I would say is, I might not be able to speak for tuberculosis, and I could understand why that would happen, but something I could suggest here is that, I said that an opportunity that comes up here is the collaboration that are there with the finance people. For example, I know that World Bank under Redise had a fund for animal health. I know. So the question is, if these funds are not, if you are not aware of these funds, or if you cannot access them through the maybe national purview, as an independent researcher, you could find grants. But the idea is that while we can, my last slide talked about agile, while we understand the realities that are on ground, but we can do something. And doing something would be that NIHR has grants, RSMTH has grants, and they release either to early researchers. So if maybe as maybe a vet in my office, I'm older than the age, I find the younger vets and guide them to apply for those grants, and they will get it. The truth is, they are often not economic use cases. Unfortunately, normal, we are struggling with normal, but we know that normal is a disease that affects people who are poor. So because there's nobody to speak up for them, it's difficult to bring up these things on the agenda. So I'm very aware of these realities. But the truth is, can something be done? Yes, something can be done. And I think these opportunities, and that's where collaborations come. So for example, if you know or have a colleague in the animal health, for example, now we know each other, I can say, Dr. Motayo, there's a grant too. You know what I said? I was not joking. If a colleague in the health sector finds a grant, if he wants to do a study on One Health, he should not do that. He or she should not do that study without other components. So now the question is, when you are now called in, what do you do? So professionalism and all those other bits, people have different experiences, but if we don't try, we will not know. This is how I would respond to it, that while the realities might be very annoying and painful, there are still opportunities. And I'm not speaking from someone who has not been in the system. I'm speaking from someone who has been in the system, although from the health perspective. And we've made changes with regards to interoperability. You know, when I said interoperability of the humans first before the system. Yes. So this is how I contribute. It's not a response to what you said, but it's just it's a contribution to the concern. I definitely don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, you Victor, are you ready for us? Victor?
I think he said something like he needs to be unmuted. That's what I saw in the, okay. So I've asked to unmute, so try. Cherry, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
He should be able to unmute himself because he has been guided on what to do to be able to unmute himself. Mohammed Lukman Isiaka, can we have you, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and very well done to our presenter of today. My issue is in terms of collaboration with the other stakeholders, the human health aspect and the environmentalists. Of recent, I think at our own local level, I was co-opted into this concept of One Health initiative. But one thing I come to realize is there is no we the vets that were invited to the table, there is no formal or an organized system to kind of like champion our cause. Because when we went for the meeting, all that was discussed was all about the priority diseases in humans, and there was virtually nothing for us as the vets. So I think probably we, the vets, needs to kind of like have our own templates on what we really want to champion as regard this concept of one health issue. Because I have attended like 2 or 3 programs of them where I was invited, and one of it, unannounced, I was just told that I should just stand up and say something about why I've been included in this initiative. So by the time I begin to speak, I realized that there's more for them to learn from us. And the initiative is kind of like, they really don't even have a well marshaled out plan for what they think we have to offer. So we, the veterinarians, need to be assertive. We need to kind of like show people that, okay, this is what we have to offer. Because one of my senior colleague who spoke before me, the Dr. Motayo, she was talking about, she was using tuberculosis as an example.
Please, no go scratch anything.
So she was talking about tuberculosis. She was giving as an example. So the human medics and some other environmentalists and the other people we have in the sittings there, I was telling them that we, the vet, have been championing this cause of One Health initiative, because what we do is, there's no way a vet will diagnose tuberculosis and will not inform his clients to go to the hospital, to visit the hospital for medical checkup, so that he will be examined. If there's any possibility of him being infected, he can be treated. But they don't do the same thing to us. And the reason why they don't do this is because they are less informed. They don't even know anything about this. I've asked many of them, what is the source of human tuberculosis? They don't even know the point source. So there we discuss about...
my dear colleague, Dr. Lukman, I think you have made your point. And
yes,
your point is very valid, that we need to be strategic and we need to be very assertive in projecting our usefulness and our primacy, the primacy of our position in the hem of affairs. And that seems to answer the concern, a part of the answer to the concern that Dr. Motayo earlier stated. I know that for sure that is true. It is not that they are leaving us behind. It is actually a problem caused by us. We veterinarians, I don't know whether to say we're timid. There's nothing, you don't get anything free of charge. If you step back and you expect people to come, the world is scrambling for positions and for relevance. If you step back and you're expecting somebody to come to your house to tell you, come out to do, nobody will ever remember that you exist. It is for you to be assertive. I think we got that. I'm not speaking for the speaker, the presenter, but I just needed to say that. So the presenter, I don't know whether you have something to say or what he has said. Otherwise, I have some issues that have been dropped in the chat box that maybe I just read them out so that you can address them. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, Dr. Victor, we have not still got you, but Dr. Abdullahi Abubakar is asking, is there any relationship between indiscriminate use of antimicrobials in animals and AMR, especially when humans eat the meat? Yeah.
Okay, I think this is like an exam. This is like an exam, a typical exam for microbiology. And yes, without missing words. And I think there is a procedure even whether it is misused or properly used, that within a certain window, you have to leave an animal before you kill it if it is going to be consumed. There is that time that you allow an organism, an animal that has been exposed to antimicrobials to be kept before they are killed. The question, I would even make, I would even help you to complicate this by saying that whether it is indiscriminate or not discriminate, the challenge is in that often there is no, for example, in Denmark, I could speak for Denmark, there is some sort of a quality assurance for every animal that is slaughtered or that is prepared for food. Someone takes a sample and then checks to see that, oh, it meets a certain criteria. But you see, in our setting, some of these things are not there. And when they are there, sometimes even the ones we have in our homes, if it's just sick, you just say, give it something there and then the like. So the question is, it's more around, and I wanted to also add that, did you know that antimicrobial resistance is not only when you eat an animal or when you there's what we call horizontal gene transfer, where you did not eat any animal, you did not take any drug, but the fact that myself and Oga were in the same space, we are sharing the same space, then the microorganisms that are resistant in my system now transfers to Oga's system. We call that horizontal gene transfer. Most people are not aware that this is actually another way of getting antimicrobial resistance. And is the concept that you have also in nosocomial in hospital settings, where, and also in slaughterhouses, where my colleagues, my fellow colleague, my Fleming Fund colleagues, I think part of what they worked on was that Dr. Mabel and co, where you check slaughterhouses to see how, on a slaughter table, if you have one cow that's being slaughtered, so this particular animal you talked about now, let's say this animal A that had indiscriminate use and for some reason has had resistance, and you slaughter that on this table, and this same table, you slaughter another one that was properly cared for. You expose this one that was properly cared for to the antimicrobial resistance. This is part of the problem that we actually also don't realize. So to your question, yes, there is a very strong link. And then it's also transferable to the one that was done properly. Sorry, thanks.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that. We have some other concerns that have been expressed, but majorly they are speaking to the same issue of how vets could make themselves more relevant, really, like I said earlier. St. Mark is saying that the question remains, are we ready as vets to take our place? We are quick to point out anomalies, but most unready to do the needful. The average vet is too self-centered to be useful to anyone but himself. That's very hard. How many collaborations do we seek? Papers have we written on research pertaining to this topic? How much have we come together to make our impact felt? What have we brought on the table to deserve a part of that table? Well, Dr. Abdulaziz is asking for the sharing of the slide. That one is beyond me, that one is beyond the presenter. But the people that are concerned, I'm sure they are here hearing us. Now, Dr. Kabiru please, we need to swing into action rather than giving lectures. He's actually talking to the organizers of the lecture series. What is the professional community doing regarding having an One Health theme in the country? Maybe Dr. Bala should respond to this. I think we'll leave this when Dr. Bala is giving his closing remark. I think you can take that together. Ogunde is asking, how do we get access to these bodies for collaboration? What sources are readily available for such? I don't know, between Dr. Bala and the presenter, maybe the presenter has something to say to this.
Absolutely.
How do we get access to these bodies? I think the bodies that he mentioned in the lecture, and what sources are readily available for such. Njideka is based on the reference to withdrawal period for food animals. What then is the relevance to non-food animal pets? How does this AMR in these animals affect humans? The presenter, maybe you have something to say. And even Bala, I will expect you to also speak to this when you are giving your closing remarks. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. So I'll start from Dr. Njideka's question. So you remember I explained horizontal gene transfer. So for the non-food animals, I told you that even when you don't abuse antimicrobials, does not mean that you cannot get antimicrobial resistance. So it's through horizontal gene transfer that this is explained. When you share space, a common space with someone who has resistant genes, the chances of shed off. Part of my study, one of my study, just that I didn't do the genomic component of it, I studied mothers and their under fives, right? So the question is, under fives, you know that under fives don't take antimicrobials. No, they don't just go around taking it. So they are still under fives. But the question is, if an under five has a resistance, where did they get it from? And I found resistance in both mother and children. So the question is, where did they get it from? So these are the kind of studies that should be encouraged to do. And if I had done a genomic, I would be able to tell that, oh, it's the gene, is the resistant gene in the mother that is the same in the under five. Yeah, I still have my sample, so I need to get funds to do the genomic sampling. But yeah, that answers Dr. Njideka's question that it's horizontal gene transfer, sharing the same space, sharing the same environment with the resistance, with an organism that has resistance is an avenue, is a driver, is a possibility that you can get that. For sources and access. So for example, I talked about Planetary Health. If you look on my screen, you see Planetary Health Alliance, and it's a hub. There's the West African hub. So if you go to the site, you will find that. And for example, on the hub, you can just write, oh, a vet in Nigeria, and I'm looking for collaborations with anyone, and you have something you want to study, and then both of you can find grants. I mentioned NIHR, and I think those are the few, and then RSHTM. And currently RSHTM has a grant that they are giving out. So it just requires a little mentoring or finding senior colleagues that have experience with grant writing, because it would require some grant writing skill. So, but those are the avenues I know. And then speaking to One Health team, we have a One Health technical working group at the, AMR technical working group at the Nigeria CDC, and that is the Nigeria CDC is sharing the national AMR working group, and we also have on the Nigeria Center for Disease website, you will find the One Health strategic plan. So you can also look through that just in case you are not sure what the direction is for Nigeria. There is a strategic plan for One Health, and the chair is the head of surveillance, the director of surveillance leading on that. So it will be good to, for One Health For AMR, we have I think Dr. Tochi. She is the chair for the antimicrobial resistance technical working group. And for the One Health, you have Dr. Oyelado Kurumade. So these are the people who are chairing it at the national. So the question is, at the state level, I know that for the EOCs that we set up, we did not set up, I'm not sure I said we set up any One Health, but they kind of mirror what's happening at national. So this is what I would do if I were in maybe JOS. I will go to the State Ministry of Health and ask, you have an EOC. I'm assuring you, they have. Every state in Nigeria has an emergency operations center, the PHEOC. You can walk in there and say, oh, do you have any One Health technical working group? You introduce yourself and say, I would love to be part of what you do. And you'll be surprised what can come out from that. So this is my response to yeah. So we have a One Health team in the country. The question is if it has been scaled to subnational. I know that there has been training here and there, but yeah, this is what I would do. Thank you.
Dr. Emmanuel, we are sorry that we cannot take more concerns, but we'll capture all those that have dropped whatever additional concern that they have on the chat box. We'll take them off from there. But I will sign off by saying that we have done well in the animal health sector on the issue of getting our right place in the scheme of things on One Health in Nigeria. It's just that the issue of sustainability. I remember that when we had avian influenza in the country in 2006, in fact, it was animal health that started it. Human health joined us. Communication joined us. Then there was no environmental involvement. It was later that environment came. It was animal health, human health, and communication. You know, so and it was set up at the national level. I was part of it. Then in the subnational, state up to local government, we had that collaborative activity by these three sectors. In fact, in some states, they were occupying the same office because animal health was able to build office infrastructure for its component. Human health, some states they didn't have. So they were housed in the offices of the animal health component. So also the communication at both state and the local government levels. It's just that after the avian influenza project funded by the World Bank in 2000, it ended in 2012. It rounded up in 2012. There was no follow-up. There was no sustainability. So it will look like nothing happened. But if you go to those all the states across the country, we still see evidence that such situation was available. It is just for us to see how we can leverage on that to get ourselves to the position that we should be. I think I will leave it at that. As I said, the concerns expressed, the additional concerns expressed, will capture them and find a way to get back to those that are expressing the concerns. I think this is where my job this morning, this afternoon ends, and I want to thank everybody for being part of this. I'll hand over to Hawa, the moderator, to continue from here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ezewa Kunobi, for allowing us to have a great participatory question and answer session. And also thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel, for gracing us today. So to round up today, I would call Dr. Bala Mohammed to give us any announcements, votes of thanks, and appreciate everyone that has stayed up till this time.
Good afternoon, colleagues, the presenters and coordinators of today's program. I will want to start by thanking my big brother, Emmanuel Ben, for doing justice to this topic. I like his new definition. We have seen a lot of other definition, but is a kind of simplify the definition for all of us to understand the role and the opportunities that are in this aspect of the practice of public health. Thank you so very much. I know you are a very busy man for putting this together. And I've also stayed, excuse me, I've also stayed back to listen to all kinds of requests being made of this. And the slides are very detailed. And I'm happy to also let you know that the presenter, our guest lecturer today, has graciously asked that we share the slides, the detailed slides, with all of you. And we will drop them off in the COTOG lecture series group for those who exactly will want to have another look at the slides. Secondly, I would also want to thank many other colleagues who have joined in to deepen the conversation on One Health. The speaker, Dr. Emmanuel, actually mentioned a lot of opportunities that we stand to enjoy if we embrace it as he presented. The aspect of looking at animal health as an animal health practitioner is done. We need to work together and then give it a new perspective. What we do, a new perspective. For instance, as a small and companion animal practitioner, what is in there when you talk about responsible pet ownership? It is One Health. It is Planetary Health. You will want to ensure that poultry and the current wave of heat that have actually affected our production with the poultry, this can be contained through Planetary Health practice. And I'm happy that he did listed a number of these opportunities, and in the coming days,
are you there? Well done. I wish you the same. Thank you, ma. I think there's a way here.
I think we also want to thank that person. He's trying to also give another vote of thanks, and I just have to allow him to doing that. So in the coming days and weeks, and I know Dr. Emmanuel and many others will not be tired of getting our request. We are also going to be going into so many other research, other aspects of this One Health, which has to do with grant applications that are upon us. We have so many grants out there talking about combating antimicrobial resistance using One Health, but also building One Health teams in terms of strengthening global health security. And we have had a lot of other people who we have contacted, and we will be letting you know ahead of time on how you can be part of some of these opportunities. For instance, next month we are going to be talking about grant writing skills, and we are bringing in top-notch United Nations approved, accredited grant writing professionals to guide us on how we can approach writing research grants, writing pet project grants, writing public health grants, and many other business grants from $1,000, 1,000 euros, 1,000 pounds to close to about 5 million pounds. And then we will also be sharing with you those sites that deals with some of these things. And the very common ones that you have today appears to be those ones talking about One Health, talking about strengthening global health security, and also talking about combating antimicrobial resistance. Let me also specifically thank those who help in deepening the conversation today: Dr. Ezenwa Nwakonobi, Dr. Bolanle Hawa, Dr. Helen Oputa, Dr. Omotayo, Dr. Lukman, Dr. Fashina joined and made contribution, and then we will be coming to him to share with you, or get him to share with you what he had actually shared with us in terms of propelling vets to take the rightful place when it comes to One Health. Thank you so very much for joining today's session, and until next series, good afternoon. Sorry, I think we needed to have group pictures. So if you can put on your cameras so that we can, if you can put on your cameras so that we can have a group picture, and hopefully we'll also share the recorded version of this series. Put on your picture. Okay, I am also seeing some of my teachers, Dr. Monde Ojemere, Dr. John, Professor Hassan Zwaka. God bless all of you. And thank you for joining and then adding color to the lecture series today. Good afternoon, bye.